What's up, everyone? Today I want to discuss a topic that I've touched on in a previous video. Basically, I went up to a professor and I started asking questions after class just out of curiosity, and he mentioned something along the lines of the whole idea that we're saving the planet in order to protect the survival of living organisms is somewhat false, because the planet will survive even if humans die. And I dug a little deeper, and then he went on to affirmatively say, and this was something where he legitly, very affirmatively said, like twice, and what he said was that in a worst case scenario, just to be completely clear, if the worst case scenario happened and the entire surface of our planet was destroyed by some sort of nuclear war, and every living organism across the surface of the world was destroyed, highly unlikely even in the most catastrophic nuclear war. There's still going to be some sort of life form, whether it's a tree or shrub, alive somewhere. But assuming that the entire surface was somehow completely singed and every living human being was destroyed, nature would still survive and living organisms would still be able to survive. Maybe not on the surface, but underground. And they would reproduce and disperse and vary and create new species, just like evolution has done and natural selection is doing now and has been doing for millions of years, and will probably create a completely new tree over hundreds of thousands of years from those ancestors that are nothing like what we are like. And perhaps they may be unintelligent, or perhaps a million or billion years later another intelligent species may be formed. Who knows? But ultimately, the purpose of that whole point was that he was saying that there are species not just a few inches under the earth. He said that there were living organisms, maybe some of them may be microbes or very small scale living organisms, hundreds of feet below our surface, that are somehow alive, and even more in very deep dark crevices that are very hard to reach and get to, whether they're at the top of mountains or 10,000, 100,000 feet under the ocean, where there's no light whatsoever, which is very peculiar, because that's the area that's almost undiscovered, more so than the moon. We know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the crevices of animals that live without light down there. And again, it's just one of those examples where worst case scenario, organisms will still survive. Our Earth is probably the most resilient thing in existence, probably more so than the American economy, which is very resilient in and of itself, surviving many financial crises. But the Earth is very, very resilient, and I mean, just think about it. From what I've learned from studying science, light is one of those integral, essential things, and yet organisms have adapted and learned to survive without light hundreds of thousands of feet under the ocean. What sort of bizarre creatures live there? And we're still studying that now. It's very hard, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of species out there that we have yet to discover, and that number is shrinking, but there's still so much out there that we on our own planet have not fully discovered. And unfortunately, yes, a lot of it is being killed, and I'm pretty sure that some of them have probably gone extinct before we discovered them, caused by us as a species, and others are obviously we knew about them, like I believe it was called the cockapoo. There's been plenty of species in the last 100 years that have gone extinct because of us, and many are endangered, and many others are very much endangered, but not labeled as as endangered as they should be because of certain regulations and the laws and so forth, in my opinion. But it's a very interesting thing, and I think the biggest message I learned from that teacher, the message my professor was trying to get across was this whole idea of that, this whole talk about, hey, we are trying to save the world, oftentimes is misguided and wrong, and more so geared at, hey, we're trying to save ourselves as the human species from extinction in some way, shape, or form if we don't stop what we're doing. And he actually went on to say to me that the earth will go on whether or not the human species lives or goes extinct. That's almost a guarantee. The earth will go on. I mean, there's probably some rare occurrence that has to be very, very catastrophic, like the whole earth colliding with an asteroid, or that's twice the size of it or something like that, for everything to be destroyed. But the earth will most likely go on if, in the rare case, the human species were to go extinct. And he's just tried to dispel that misconception, because he's pretty much saying, hey, something's going to survive. It's not going to be us, but something, many things will probably survive whatever catastrophic event we throw at it, and it will reproduce, and then those offsprings will vary and mutate, and there'll be differentiation, and ultimately it'll lead to multiple new species, as has happened many times before. And again, similar to the American economy, the United States have gone through a lot of financial crises and ups and downs, and been surprisingly resilient. Obviously, we don't know if that will happen in the future, but the Earth is even more so resilient than that, in my opinion. Just the variation is, and the differences in the environments that you can live in. I'm actually going to do a video one day, hopefully, on the top places you should visit before you die. And there's some crazy places, mountains that are naturally rainbow colored, and very bizarre stuff out of like fantasy novels that are legitimately on this earth. And the pictures taken of those places are amazing. There's this landscape where the ground is just a mirror, because it's ice, and it just reflects everything above it perfectly, and it's very bizarre, and it goes on for miles, and the pictures are amazing. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that video once it's released. I'll release the pictures in the video too. But more so than that, back on topic, apparently we've gone through 7 or 8 mass extinction events in our history. And again, there's similar to the financial timeline and economy, there have been mass scale financial crises of mass proportion, like the Great Depression, that have occurred over 200 or 300 years that America has been around. Similarly, there's been mass extinctions that have occurred in the history of the earth. And it's a similar thing, whereas the financial crises, there's big magnitudes and smaller magnitudes where the drop isn't as big, and those aren't categorized as financial crises. They're just like, they're called bear markets. Similarly, there's probably been minor extinctions, but a lot of these great extinctions that have occurred, which we sort of studied the rocks and determined to have happened, a lot of them wiped out a lot. There's like one specific extinction that wiped out somewhere close to 90% of all the living species, and a lot of these scientists were predicting that at the time before the extinction occurred, the variety of different organisms, in abundance of organisms at the time, was many folds greater than what we have even today, and that extinction wiped out so many. And I think that in itself is one of the reasons for the resilience of the earth, that variation in organisms and the different environments act as a protective mechanism on a big macro scale for any sort of huge event. And I think the most assured ones, I believe, are some sort of flood and some sort of event that killed, like some sort of asteroid. But these sort of big events, they can't kill everything. They may kill 90% or 99%, but 1% of a million species is ridiculous. 1% of 10,000 species, it's more than enough. You just need one or two species. One species is really like enough, to rebound, and it's very interesting how that works. I know it's kind of sad, and hopefully it never happens again, but the bubonic plague, one of the worst plagues ever, it only killed around, and I say only, but apparently it only killed around like a third of the human population at the time. It killed apparently millions, if not hundreds of thousands. I remember doing a project on that specific disease when I was in middle school, but it killed a lot of people, and at the same time, we don't want anything of that magnitude to happen again. It'd be a huge catastrophe if it did, but again, a third of the population is really nothing if you look at the macro scale in terms of the resilience of the population and its survivability. And so when we have those preposterous, although very exciting and entertaining videos like I Am Legend, where there's some sort of virus that wipes out 99.99999% of human race, it's just biologically and scientifically highly unlikely. And even if that were to occur, like 99.9999%, like depending on how many decimals you go, there's still going to be plenty of humans around. So again, it's a huge catastrophe. I don't want even close to happening, but on a macro scale, very high level macro scale, you kind of see these things. And then even at that, like, it's not even that big, like, you're not even looking at the real big picture, because a lot of people, they're concerned about what's happening locally in their community. Other people look at statewide, province-wide. Others go to the national level and then go to the international or global level. And others, they look at the stars and the solar system. But then if you look beyond that and you look at the fact that we have hundreds of thousands of galaxies housing hundreds of thousands of solar systems, each with potentially 10 to 20 planets, you get very large numbers, and then you don't know what's beyond the universe that we know of, and it may extend infinitely, or there just may be infinite stuff outside of that. So if you really look at the bigger picture, it's like ultimately all quite trivial. So again, I have obviously plenty more to say about this topic, and this was just a small taste of what I have to say. Obviously, I'm still learning, and there's probably a lot more I can learn, so leave it in the comments if you've learned or shared anything useful regarding science, or not science, or the universe, the solar systems, or the ecosystem, or whatever's going on in your area, I guess. I don't know. And ultimately, it's very, very interesting just to think about just to wrap it all and bring it back to your initial topic. The Earth is resilient, and another extinction. Obviously, what people are saying is that the human species, based on indicators, are assuredly now causing the next huge mass extinction based on comparisons to other mass extinctions. And it's assuredly happening, and we don't know if we can stop it. But whether or not we can or not, another mass extinction will not wipe out the Earth. It is just that resilient. Is there a 0% chance? No. There are obviously things and scenarios that could do it, but the probability of that is so low relative to other scenarios. You have a much higher chance, in my opinion, of the human species being wiped out than all species on the Earth being wiped out, for a variety of reasons. And it is very interesting in my opinion, and obviously I'm learning more, and my opinions may change when I learn more and read more books. Feel free to comment below if you want, like, favorite, share, or just comment below with your information, what you've learned, so we can all learn from this. But in my opinion, another great mass extinction will not wipe out the earth. It may wipe out human species, potentially not if we're smart and as a species we start thinking and changing, but it will not wipe out the earth. And it is very strange how the human species is. Obviously we're creating all these crazy stuff. We're a very peculiar, interesting, intelligent species, and at the same time we're doing a lot of damage to our environment, but almost killing ourselves in the very long run. But at the same time, there's the potential of us surviving. At the same time, we are very much, based on our DNA and our biology, a part of this world. And it's one of those things where it's like, why would this destructive species come about if it's part of this whole system? Was the system designed to create this species, or was the system just there and random things could occur at random? And so here we are now, and again, who knows what may happen. Obviously, if you want to learn it more, there's plenty of books on topic. Bill Gates has a list of books that he recommends. One of them is on mass extinctions and the current dilemma we're facing. Other than that, stay tuned and subscribe. There's more to come. And on top of the videos I talked about, there's another video I want to make in the future. If I remember, feel free to remind me so I don't forget. But it is a video on okay, I just forgot. Well, there's a few videos I want to make. One is on just the complexity and amazingness of galaxies, and how large and extreme our universe is, and how trivial in respect we are in relation to the billions, if not trillions, of planets out there, and just how crazy it looks from the telescopes of these galaxies that house hundreds of thousands of star systems. And another video I wanted to do, I'm blanking out here, I just want to wrap this up, but it's a very interesting video as well. Oh yes, it's on the potential, if we do survive somehow and either create sustainable natural resources or sustainable energy that can keep us alive as a species, which I think is definitely possible. If not, we may just be forced to cut our population in half or by a quarter to sustain. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's definitely doable. It's probably going to happen. It's just what risks or sacrifices we may potentially have to make. The earlier the better. Otherwise, the later on we'll have to make bigger sacrifices, like cutting our population or whatever, or probably more complex solutions. But long story short, one thing I want to do in another video, and remind me in the comments or social media, is a video just on the amazingness of the potential of our civilization. And a lot of people don't realize this. God knows, like, no one understands as much as a few select people out there, that hey, we are on the cusp, the start of a dramatic exponential increase in all sorts of technology and all sorts of advances, and everything is increasing faster and faster. And so what will happen in 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, a million years, a billion years from now? Potentially ridiculous stuff that are probably beyond your wildest imaginations, and obviously we'll never be there to see it. But as long as we survive as a species, we will keep advancing and learning and discovering new stuff. And I think people saying that we've already discovered it all, it's preposterous. But because what we're learning is that the more we find out, the more there is out there. So there's so much potential out there that we have yet to discover. And a lot of people don't realize this. We're just on the cusp, like 100, 200, 300 years ago, we were riding horses around. We were farmers. Now look at us. Think of us 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years. So that's just a taste of one of those videos I'm going to do in the future. And if you like this video, please help me out by sharing it to everyone you think would love this sort of video. And most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. As always, like, favorite, comment, share, and subscribe. See you later.